screen so that we can actually just get into what we want to do today. So there's no fancy slides today. This is a demo. So yes, let me show you guys. So currently I am in our link sandbox, and we have Contoso, which is the old Cronus company, or well, this is a new one with some financial data in there. So we've got a couple of fictitious transactions in there, but that will help us to just show you what the reports look like that we want to show today. So usually I get the age-old question on, but our old system can quickly show us an income statement and can quickly show us a balance sheet. Why can't BC do that? And it actually the answer lies in the flexibility that BC gives you in creating one report, which is, let's take an income statement, for example, one income statement, but you can have various column definitions that tell you, you maybe want to look at an income statement over the whole company, but you want to have the same income statement across different departments, or maybe across different product types, various dimensions that you use. So with that being said, Business Central has financial reporting, which allows you to do that in one place. So today we're going to look at just looking at an income statement and a balance sheet. Some of you guys will already use this, but there might be some of you who don't currently use it and just want to understand how it works and what you can do with it. So with that being said, let me dive into where we're going to start. So before we get to the income statement, the creating of the income statement and balance sheet, which most of you use, there's a fairly easy way to create them instead of creating each line and each column one by one. If you start with your chart of accounts, you will see, if I just scroll down to my income statement, on the chart of accounts, you have the account subcategory, and this is a field that you can personalize to look exactly like your management statement. All of the different GL accounts, you can group them together. So for example, we've got a couple of GL accounts here. So on sales, we've got sales, retail, domestic, and EU. And you can see the account category that they've all been grouped together is income product sales. Underneath these ones, we group these ones all together using income services. So once you set up these account subcategories, you actually have the ability to click one button and create all of your management accounts. So under these, you have the generate financial reports. And all this does is it takes all of the GL accounts that is currently linked to an account subcategory, and it creates a row definition where it rolls that up into one line. And if I do that, I'll show you on the financial reports. We go to our income statement. These are basically what I mean. So each one of these consists of 4 or 5 different GL accounts. So if you want to know the detail of these, you can always drill down on these and you can see what is the various GL accounts, and you can obviously see what the various balances are that makes up this amount. Okay, with that being said, if we look at our income statement, I just personalize, the first thing I do is I just personalize out the unnecessary fields, which is usually, I don't care about what the name is and so on. I care about what the row definition is and the column definition, the date that we work with, and how I'm going to view these. So I just personalize this to look like this. We're also going to have a look at the dimension perspective, which is a new feature, which I'm going to show just now. Okay. But the first thing that when we look at an income statement or a balance sheet is, what is the row definition? What makes up the row definition? And in this case, you have various reports that you can use. Like I said, I'm just going to use this one. And if I go to the definitions and I check the row definition, I can see that this is already rolled up based on that generic setup that we've done on the account subcategories. But we have the ability to add or change some of these. So for example, if I look at, this is my income side of things, this is my cost of sales side of things, it actually brings in a gross profit here for us as well. But let's say, for example, I actually want to add a gross profit percentage. Then I can simply add new fields in here or new lines in here. And I'm just going to use a formula, F for a formula or a P for a posting account. But I mean, you can call this ABC or 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really matter. If I had gross profit percentage, add it in here, and then I can, on the totaling type, I've got different options here. And you don't need to know all of them. Most of the time, you usually work with posting accounts, total accounts, or formulas, but you also have the ability to add other types in here. You have things like statistical accounts where you can do formulas and stuff based on how many employees you have or how many hectares you have in your fields and so on. In this case, I'm just going to use a formula. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, to calculate this, I just want to take the gross profit divided by the total sales. So in this case, it's a simple formula where we're just going to say it's F0018 divided by F9. And there's a lot of options here. You can bold it, you can italic it, you can underline it if you want to. So that's just what gets displayed as soon as you actually run this report. Speaking of which, maybe let me just show you that. So when we actually go back and we print this, I can actually see it's added the gross profit percentage in there, underlined it, and so on. Obviously, we'll just multiply it by 100 to maybe just get a percentage and so on. Okay, so that's editing row definitions. So like I mentioned, if you actually want to, you can personalize this to look exactly how you want your management accounts to look. If you maybe have a summarized version where you don't want to see this, maybe you just want to see total income, total cost of sales, GP, total expenses, you don't want the breakdown, then you can also do a modified version of this where you can just copy this and maybe just remove the unnecessary fields in between. All right. Similar to that, we have, so for example, maybe while I'm still on the row definition, I have, just to show you, I created this little one which just says income statement summarized. And this is basically just a different version, but it usually takes the same information, it just displays it in a different way. Just looking at that. All right. Just want to change this back. All right. So our row definitions is usually sort of the same across different reports, but the column definitions might change significantly depending on what you actually want to see. So for example, standard out of the box, there's a net change, meaning that's just the movement for the month, but you can create as many of these different column definitions that you actually want. A nice one that I've seen here now is, if you're lazy like me, when you create a new financial or a new company using the Contoso financial company, then you just need to confirm, but you actually get a couple of these report definitions. If you don't, then you can always contact me, then we can help you to copy these predefined column definitions into your environment so that you can use it. But if I just look at the simple thing, like for example, I just want to see a current month net change versus prior month net change. So if I just use this layout, and if I look at the column definition, I can see all it does is in column number 1, it's going to give me the current month net change entries. It's going to give me the prior month net change entries, and it's going to give me a difference between the two. So just month on month, and basically all it looks like is I'm using the same row definitions, that I've been using, but now I see that my current month is this, my prior month is this, and my difference is this. Obviously, this information that gets populated here is dependent on how we select we want to view this. So in this case, because we're viewing month by month, I need to select month here, and I need to enter the month that I actually want to look at. So in this case, if I maybe want to look at April, I can just put the date like that, and it'll give me the current month in here, prior month there, and difference there. It might not be totally applicable, but I mean the same principle applies if you actually want to view this by year. The header is still going to say current month and prior month, but this will actually be the prior year info or the current year information in here, the prior year information in there. Typically, you won't use this column definition for this type of document. You'd rather create a separate column definition called current year versus prior year or something like that. So there's a lot of these column definitions, but you can always edit them if you want to see additional stuff in there. So for example, if I just go back to this specific one where I say this is the column definition because I want to see a current month, prior month difference, but maybe I also want to see percentage-wise what the differences was. So maybe I can say difference percentage or something like that, and I can put a formula in there to say in the formula column I can then say 3 divide by, so that 3 is column number 3 divide by, maybe I want to compare it with the prior month or maybe the current month. So just do a little formula in there and to say maybe times 100 to just get a percentage. And then let's just go back in there. So if I look at that now, it looks something like this. So I've got the current month, I've got the prior month, I've got a difference, and I can see the percentage difference from the prior month that was in there. So yeah, very flexible, and that's why Business Central don't have one fixed income statement and one fixed balance sheet. It gives you the ability to build your own reports because all clients have different needs and requirements. All right. If we just maybe have a look at maybe some of the other ones here. So for example, you have current month, the actual for the current month, budget month, difference, actual year to date, actual budget, actual difference, and so forth. So these are just some of the column definitions that we've created already, and it's available in here. Right. So the next, the most often asked question is, most of the companies report on maybe departments. So if you want to create an income statement per department, in this case, I have created in my row definitions, I've created an analysis view by department, and basically all the analysis view does is it looks at all the GL entries in the income statement by the department, and I've just enabled that it updates on posting, and it also includes the budget. So I add the department analysis view to my income statement row definition. So what it does is I actually just want to see an income statement net change. Okay, and I want to see it for that month. So if I look at this, I can see this is the net change specifically just for this whole company. But when I actually print the report now, sorry, I actually just need to add my dimension perspective that I've also created. So in my dimension perspective, I've created a department dimension perspective with a definition to say use the department dimensions that we've created and create the income statement per department. So just to show you And if I'm going too quickly, we are going to post the link on our YouTube channel so that you guys can have a look at it in 0.5 speed. But basically what it does is it creates an income statement for the whole company, exactly like I saw in the front. But I also have one now for the administration. There's nothing in there actually because there was no transactions, but I have one for production, I have one for purchasing, and I have one for sales. So maybe I can just do this maybe for the whole year. It'll maybe give us some better information. So just to show you guys again. So once again, for the whole company, there's my info. If I then go to my administration one, there's production. Oh, I see actually everything is under production and nothing is under sales and so on. Okay, maybe I should just use a different, the custom one that I've actually created. Let's just view that again. The custom one will actually show you something else. I'll show you how I've created that one. So the custom one I've created per department, per product type. So it actually tells you what was the sales department for 2 large companies that I've sold. And this is the information that I get. How much did I do for sales and medium companies? How many did I do for sales and small companies? And then production, the production department for large companies, and the production for medium companies, and production for small companies, and so on. And then the purchasing or the procurement versus large, and so forth and so forth. So this is the dimension perspective is something that you set up once, depending on how you want to see your reports. So just to show you the definition that I've used here. So I've used the department dimension in combination with the customer group. And I've set them up like that. And they are actually pulling the information from the GL entries using these combinations in that report. All right. That being said, similar to that, we can do a balance sheet. So usually people just look at the income statement, but you can do the similar thing with a balance sheet. So once again, the row definition might be the same across all of them because we want to look at cash, receivables, and so on. Usually people just look at this as a whole in the company, but you can do this per dimension again, once again, because we've already set up the definition and the dimension perspective for these various departments and custom in this case. So if I just look at the same information, let's do this maybe for a whole year. I can see once again when I print this, I just need to change that. Sorry, not here. Add this in here. So it might not be the best example, but the principle behind this is exactly the same, that you can have a balance sheet per department or per this custom dimension perspective that I created. So I want to see the income statement, the balance sheet by large, sales and large, sales and medium, sales and small, production large, and so on and so on. All right. Cool. Maybe while we are on the topic, I'm just going to jump back to my income statement. So if I look at the income statement that I've created using the departments, I just want to change this back to department. And I'm going to look at, we're going to let's maybe create a custom one that we start from scratch. Department, if we want to see it by month, this is what we want to look at. But let's say, for example, we actually want to change this one to have the departments displayed between on here. So we actually want to see our 3 departments or our 4 departments on this one report here. So let's create a separate row definition. Let's actually make a copy of that one and just call it department. Oh, sorry, it's actually not this one. It's actually the column definition that I'm looking at. So, definition. Yeah. And let's say department. Okay, I'm not even going to link it to an analysis. I'm just going to edit the column definition. And let's say in column number 1, I'm going to do this for the, let's say, sales. And let me just see if I actually have that column in here. So this is literally where I'm going to create the department definition. So let's just make that a bit bigger. I'm going to say add everything together for where it's sales. In column 2, I want to see by production. And to see admin. And purchasing. Okay. Simple report. I just want to see the net changes. I don't even want to look at budget versus actual, because obviously I can do that. I can add a line in here and I can say in there, I want to see sales budget maybe. I can see bring in the budget entries and I've got one in there and so on. So just for now, maybe in there, we're going to just say total, just see no department filtering. We just want to see everything in total. Okay. So we're going to use this department definition then. Okay, so just refresh this. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Now it's blocked. Okay, let's see like that. Okay, so typically this is what you want to see. You want to see income for the sales department, what the budget entries are, if there are any budget entries, what the production actual incomes was, what was purchases, and then what was the totals. And similar, you have expenses, the cost of sales in this case, your normal overhead expenses, and so on. All right. So yeah, that is, you can obviously export this to Excel. You don't necessarily need to just print this. But if you print it, you can add logos in there to maybe show you a side-by-side report. So the two main differences between these two are sometimes you want to have an income statement departmental wise, where you have the various departments next to each other and then comparing it to the total. But you also want to have a separate report where you have individually have an income statement for each department. This one, you'll use the one that we've just created, where you have the various column definitions next to each other, and it will give you a single report with all of the departments next to each other. If you use the dimension perspective, that will give you individual reports when you print it for each department. You can obviously export this to Excel, just to show you. This will give you a single report with your various departments in there and the total. If you run the same report with the dimension perspective, so if you edit that and you add the department dimension perspective and you run this by the net change, This will obviously give you the individual ones. And if you export it to Excel, similar to what you have there, you'll have the various departments at the bottom and the total on the first one. Just like that. So it gives you a bit of flexibility in terms of what you actually want to give to the guys out there. All right. Just as part of financial reporting, because we always want to do things quicker and faster, and everything moving to AI and artificial intelligence and agents that can help us with various reporting. I just quickly want to show you. You can also create financial reports using either Copilot or Claude or whichever is your preferred one to use. So just at the hand of an example, I'm going to use Claude because that's what I like to use. What I want to do is I'm just going to export the GL entries for the year to Excel, and I'm going to ask Claude to maybe just create an income statement for me per department. So easy starting point is I'm going to take out all my GL entries, and I'm just going to filter by posting date. So I'm just going to say entries for the year, open in Excel for me. Obviously, I need to tell Claude how he needs to create this for me, how I'm going to group it together, and so on. So similar to what we had earlier on, I'm actually going to tell him, listen, use these account categories and summarize it by using this as your definitions. So I'm just going to copy this over into that same file. So I've got these two files here. You'll see you've got these add-ins, which you can just search for Claude. I've already installed it. So I've got Claude here opening this add-in here, and I'm just literally going to try and give him a prompt and say, listen, create this for me. So create an income statement using general entries, group them by using let me just get the correct words here. Count I also wanted per department. Group them by using account category. Let's see what it does. And this might take about 5 minutes, but you'll be amazed by seeing what it can actually do. As it's running, it also gives you its thought process and how it's going to work and what it's trying to do. So, I mean, you can follow it on your own, but you can do similar things in Copilot. So you can see you've got Copilot. As soon as you exported this, you've got Copilot here. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with you trying to do a little pivot yourself, and if it is easy enough like that. But this actually gives you a fairly decent looking income statement formatted, and with simple prompts, you can do changes to it. So let's actually see here. So you can see here, it's actually telling you that because the revenue is as a negative, it actually is going to invert it and put the revenue as a positive in there. As it's thinking, the idea of this is not to necessarily say, listen, this is how you should be creating an income statement all the time, because you can imagine that it is it's time consuming, and it's not the most effective way. You know, that's why you use financial reports in Business Central, where you set it up once and you can run it all the time. But the idea of this is more to say, listen, how can we, if there's different reports that you can't set up in Business Central using financial reports or so on, that needs to look at various other tables, you can use this to maybe extract all the data, chuck them all into one Excel table or Excel sheet, and then giving the prompt to say, listen, look in these various tabs at the bottom and bring back the data in a summarized version. I can show you the finished product while this runs. So I actually did an example of this earlier on, but basically the same general ledger entries, the same chart of accounts, and it created. Oh, sorry, actually this report. So the same general ledger entries, the same chart of accounts, and it basically created. Firstly, it didn't create it. It firstly created only this part here, which I actually asked it, but it was intuitive enough to actually ask me, do I want to have a chart in there as well to group it by geography and department? And it created this chart. And it then further asked me, do I actually want to analyze it by the groupings, domestic, EU, or export, per department? And it also gave me that. So yeah, it's a very nifty thing. I can actually see it's running here and how it's creating the various reports for us. Maybe while we're waiting, Gerard, do we have some questions that we can maybe ask or answer? Anything? You guys can see it's actually doing the formatting for you as well, ensuring that your income is positive, discount is negative, and so on. Okay, there we can see we've got a perfect looking income statement per department, and it actually, yeah, it actually gives it. It actually looks better than the report that comes straight out of Business Central, just in terms of look and feel. Also summarized, like I said, and it also gives you other suggestions on what you can do further with this. Yeah, and it also tells you where it gets the information from. I haven't tested it yet, but I'm pretty sure you can also ask him to maybe create a refreshable report with maybe a OData connector or API that you can maybe just run out of Excel all the time. So yeah, that in a nutshell is the AI side of things. Yeah. Okay, maybe Gerard, do we maybe have questions from the audience?
Andre, not as yet, but ready to answer. You'll also find that I've put another poll to vote for next webinar. So if you have a minute, I see there's quite a bit of responses, but if you have a minute, please go to the chat and just vote for your next webinar that we can help and assist with.
Yeah, thank you, Gerard. if there is maybe any questions that you maybe want to see in this financial reporting demo currently, you're more than welcome to post your questions in there as well. We've got about 7 minutes left, so I'm more than willing to show you guys if something wasn't clear or if I went over something too quickly. Let's see here. Right, Dennis, for the reports in the financial reporting, like the income statement, do you have to do it per entity or can you do a mass update across multiple entities or companies? Great question. I'm not sure, but what I did see was that the ones that I created in the one company, it was fairly easy to copy them across to the other ones because you can edit, or if you literally go like this. So if you are in a, for me, it was fairly easy, but you can obviously export the definition. So yeah, that's not a good example, but the row definitions, for example, you can literally go copy them and open up a new one in the other company, you know, in the different tab at the top and just paste them in there. I know it's probably not the answer that you're looking for, but I can find out for you if it is available across all of them or not. Okay. Any other questions here? Okay. Maybe I can, while we're waiting for a couple of the for the questions, maybe I can show you some of the column definitions that we currently have here, so that if it is something that maybe one of you guys want to use, you can get in contact with me to so that we can actually just copy it into your environment if you want to use it. But there's stuff like current month versus budget, year to date budget. So actual current month budget difference. And you can obviously add another column in here called difference percentage or whatever, and then actual year to date, actual year to date budget difference, and so on. You've got in this one total budget plan, total budget remaining, which is just formulas that basically deduct certain things. So that's a very nice one. Then we've got the current month versus prior month. So current month net change, prior month net change, same month prior year, difference there. And then we've got this one. So there's one for the current month net change, same month prior year net change, and the difference. And in this one, we've got current month net change, prior month net change, difference, and the difference percentage. So that's the one that I actually changed earlier on. But you can also have like this one, for example, where you have the months next to each other for the whole year. Quite a common report that gets used quite a bit. And when you look at the column definition, it's actually straightforward. You literally say, okay, my year starts in January, or you maybe have to start in June. Then your first column will just be that one. And like I said, the formulas is already in here, and you've got a total right at the end. So that's just one for budgets, but this is the normal current month net change. Then you've got a couple of balance sheet ones, which we can have a look at. So balance sheet current month versus prior year, and balance for the current month plus the current month balance. But yeah, there's so many things that you can do in here. Like I said, you can use these as a basis and add your own columns in there if you want to create formulas in there to give you the answer that you're looking for. I haven't touched on things like statistical accounts. Like I said, statistical accounts is used for non-financial information, like how many employees you have or how many products products you've sold. It's actually also in BC, but yeah, things that's usually not in BC, where you can say, okay, take the expenses divided by the amount of employees I have to get a cost per employee or something similar to that. Yeah, in the wine industry, people say this is how many hectares I have, and I want to see my profitability per hectare. So you can bring in those as a statistical account and use them in your financial reports. Okay. If there's nothing else, then I want to thank you everyone for your time. Have a good Friday further. And if you do have any questions or need help setting these up, feel free to get in contact with us. Most of you guys are on Freshdesk, where you can log a ticket, or you can simply send us a mail and we'll be in contact then. All right. Have a nice day, everyone.